Hello and welcome to this lecture video on measurement. After this video, students will be able to conceptualize and operationalize variables and define concepts, indicators, variables, and composite measures. As a review, there are two types of research. There is quantitative research, which focuses on variables including their relationships and descriptions, and this typically involves deductive reasoning. And we have qualitative research, which is research that focuses on individual cases, including the interpretation of actions, events, and representations of meaning, etc. And this typically uses inductive reasoning. Both types of research require measurement. When we talk about measurement in the social sciences, we're talking about taking an abstract idea or concept, such as the variables you identified in your research question and hypothesis, and narrowly defining those terms and turning them into something that can be actually observed and measured, turning them into an indicator or variable. This means thinking about something in both an abstract and empirical sense. Essentially, how can we take the terms you used in your question and hypothesis and turn them into something we can actually go and record, observe, or measure? So let's start with the conceptualization part. This is where we're going to define the terms that you're using for your variables. A concept is a word or phrase that is clearly specified and defined. So when we go through the process of conceptualization, we're taking the terms you used in your research question hypothesis and clearly defining them. This is the process of creating or clarifying a concept that we can then use to measure. Once we have a well-defined concept, we need to be able to measure it. When conceptualizing, you should identify all aspects of your chosen concept, which means if your concept is more complex, you should identify each aspect of that concept. And you should do this for all variables that you identified in your question and hypothesis. So what could this look like? Well, for example, if I want to have as a variable something, let's say, called good student, then I would need to first define what it means to be a good student. And let's say I identify several aspects of what it means to be a good student: showing up to class, turning in assignments on time, and getting good grades. Now there's probably other aspects of being a good student that we could identify here, but let's start with those three. That means I then need to go in and define, okay, what does it mean to attend class regularly? What does it mean to turn in your assignments on time? And what does it mean to get good grades? Once I have then very clearly and narrowly defined those three ideas, those three aspects of my overall concept of good student, then I can move on to talking about how to measure them. Operationalization is the process we go through from taking our concept to actually measuring that concept. Here is where we specify the values or categories of our variable or concepts. This means we're going to create indicators or single observable measures for each aspect of our concept that we have identified. And so a single variable may have multiple indicators. For example, if our concept/variable is feelings of depression, our indicators may be questions around feelings of guilt, insomnia, feeling down, sleeping too much, loss of interest, etc. Each of these indicators represents an aspect of our overall concept of feelings of depression. In our previous example of a good student, we identified attendance, turning in assignments on time, and getting good grades. We would then need to be able to identify indicators for each of those aspects. So we might take role in class, that could be one indicator for attendance, and we might check on Canvas to see if they turn in their work on time. That will cover turning in assignments on time, and we might then check their GPA to see if they get good grades. There are two main ways to create operational definitions. The first and most common is measurement. This uses existing values for the variable or indicator of interest. We're going to go out and measure something that already exists. The second, which is far less common, is manipulation. This is where we're purposefully creating differences in values of a variable or indicator, typically our independent variable, in order to create control and treatment groups in an experiment. You will only see the manipulation of an independent variable in an experiment. In terms of measurement, we can use verbal or self-report ways of measuring our concepts and variables, which can include interviews, questionnaire, survey. We can send out a survey to ask people about their feelings of depression or whether or not they attend class regularly, etc. We can observe, where I go out and observe people or events, check to see if people are attending class. We can use archival records, which is census, letters, government documents, etc., such as going and looking at a student's transcripts to see their GPA. And if I am then combining these different types of measurement into an overall composite measure, I'm creating an index or a scale. Basically what this means is that if I want to use attendance, grades, and turning in assignments on time, I have 3 different indicators that I'm going to combine to create a composite measure that represents the concept of being a good student. Alright, that is all for this lecture. Thank you for watching.